Hello everyone, this is Dr. Sushma Tiwari, Department of English, Government Arts and Commerce Girls College, Raipur. In my last video, I have given you the summary of the novel and about the novelist. This is the second part on the topic where you will come to know the feminist elements and ideas of Margaret Atwood in her present novel. The Edible Woman highlights cannibalism, suppression, obligation to behave in a determined way, and the quest to find oneself through the life of Marian, the protagonist. Though the novel was written in 1960s, not much has changed. It still reflects the face of a woman. Atwood reveals her concerns with feminist issues and women's problems such as women's limited work opportunities, their expected goals of marriage and pregnancy, as well as the other social stereotypes and their reactions. Feminism is both an intellectual commitment and a political movement that search for justice for women and the termination of sexism in all forms. It is the principle that women should be treated equal to men, and also it is any acts or deeds specially organized that encourage women's rights to move towards equality with men. Margaret Atwood is a renowned and honored Canadian female novelist who is known as a feminist critic and social activist. Though Margaret Atwood denies to be a feminist, she believes that women are oppressed in Western society. She wrote The Edible Woman in 1965 and was finally brought into light in 1969, 4 years after it was written and just in time to coincide with the rise of feminism in North America. Some immediately assumed that it was a product of the movement. The Edible Woman was written by Margaret Atwood when the society was overshadowed by men. During those days, post-war feminist movements were trying to win against patriarchal model of family and femininity. Customary gender roles such as mother, housekeeper, wife, or lover were unfit for modern women. They looked for alternatives, but the only one which was offered by the social system was a position of a worker trapped in a dead-end job. Due to the paucity of any realistic possibilities to change their status in the society, women pronounced their objections, frailty, and anxiety by means of their vision towards food. As a result, through their bodies, this position led to frustration, outburst, and dissatisfaction among feminists. Margaret Atwood's The Edible Woman is in relation to women and their connections to men, to society, and to food and eating. It is through the medium of food and eating that Atwood discusses a young woman's revolt against a modern male-dominated world. The female protagonist, Marian, has imposed upon her and her personal definition of self, and food becomes the symbol of that struggle and her eventual rebellion. Margaret Atwood makes use of an eating disorder as a metaphor of a revolt and protest. Marian is the main protagonist of the novel, a young, victorious woman working in a market research. She was leading an idealistic life with a decent job, private life, and social relations. But when she finds out his boyfriend's consumer nature during a talk in the restaurant, she could not eat. Marian's initial lack of desire for food finally leads to an eating disorder, which is her body's response to the society's effort of imposing its policy on the heroine. Moreover, the three parts of the novel proposes the course of this eating disorder. Background causes are shown in part 1. Part 2 indicates the mind-body split, and part 3 reflects the spontaneous declaration of the problem. In the first part of the novel, we are told that Marian is in relationship with Peter, who is good looking, attractive, and ambitious. Marian thinks Peter is an ideal choice. He is attractive and he is born to be successful. These lines are from chapter 10. Peter is portrayed as ordinariness raised to perfection. Lines from page 61. Whereas Peter thinks Marian is suitable as a wife. She is undemanding and non-aggressive, unlike other women. A girl who won't take over his life. Lines from page 61. Now the first time when Marian realizes that there is something wrong with her is when she went out with Peter to meet Len. There she finds herself crying. I noticed with mild curiosity that a large drop of something wet had materialized on the table near my hand. I poked it with my finger and smudged it around a little before I realized with horror that it was a tear. These lines from chapter 8. Now then she hides herself under the bed so that she can ignore everyone around and live some time alone. She has no clue about what she is doing and why. After some struggle in their relationship, Peter proposes Marian and suggests her that they should get married. Marian replies his proposal with a yes. When he asks her about the date they can get married, Marian replies, I'd rather have you decide that. I'd rather leave the big decisions up to you. Lines from chapter 10. This is the point where Marian starts losing her control over her life. She starts leaning on Peter for every minor to major decisions. As the second part of the novel begins, we notice a change in tone. That is, from first person's perspective, I, to third person perspectives. This suggests Marian has no control on her own life anymore. The second part of the novel covers the major part of the story. This is where the story reaches its climax point. The second part of the novel brings into focus Marian's main problems, that is, her growing denial for food and eating that results in a disorder. For Marian, food becomes a metaphor of her own body. She builds a belief that Peter is consuming her body like the way she consumes food. The idea of cannibalism makes her reject food. After accepting the marriage proposal, Marian begins to doubt if she made the right choice or not. She began to question herself if she was really ready to marry Peter, as at times she gets disturbed by Peter's general behavior and casual attitude towards sex. Sometimes she feels that he was treating her as a stage prop, silent but solid, a two-dimensional outline. Lines from page 71. So one after other events followed where Marian refuses to eat. The first time, when she goes out with her colleagues, though she was starving, she finds it very difficult to eat. She was amazed at her own behavior. The next time she goes out with Peter for dinner, she could not eat steak because she feels as a hunk of muscle. One after the other struck out of her list of eatables. Marian sees herself as weak and powerless. At the end, Marian starts taking vitamin pills and stops eating any food. Marian thinks of herself as weak because she is a woman. She could not stand and fight. Rather, she subconsciously chooses to escape, hide, and run away from the situation. Marian's behavior was her body reaction to the male-dominated society, as she could not represent her rebellion to accept the male domination. Marian rebellion reaches a peak. It reaches to a peak point when Peter asks her to dress differently for the party. She dresses herself in red short dress, which she doubts is her in the third part of the novel, where Marian's problem begins to settle down. Marian no longer bounds herself. She runs away from the party to meet Duncan and make love with him in a gloomy hotel room. Marian once again starts eating. She bakes a cake and gives it a shape of a woman that symbolizes the edible woman. The woman-shaped cake works as a symbol of ideal woman that Peter wants Marian to be. She asks Peter to eat the cake. Instead, he becomes furious at Marian's unusual behavior. The very moment Peter leaves, Marian feels extreme hunger and starts eating the cake. By eating that cake, Marian shows her refusal to be the kind of woman others expect her to be. It is her way of saying no to the patriarchal system. She would rather consume herself than letting anyone else to consume her. Marian is satisfied with her decisions and she is feeling content with her renewed personality. And once again, the point of view shifts from third person's perspective to first person's perspective. This suggests Marian's reign of control over her life. She is once again self-reliant and free. She does not need to rely on Peter's decisions. Finally, Duncan shares the cake with her. For Duncan, the cake was just an edible object and nothing more than that. In the closing line, he marks it as delicious. The Edible Woman highlights various ideas of cannibalism, suppression, obligation to behave in a determined way, and the quest to find oneself, bringing into light various true pictures in which our society lags behind an urge for change. Throughout the novel, we come across various encounters where we see that how a woman's character is decided by paltry things like how they dress up, virginity, their pregnancy is considered as an act of disloyalty, and how marriage is considered as a big concern. We perceive that how woman is dominated by a man in a relationship and the lack of control on her own life. The most dominating element throughout the novel is cannibalism, barbarity, beast-like behavior. Marian conceives that she is being consumed by her boyfriend as she consumes food. When sex becomes the medium of consumption, she feels caught in a sex role trap and wants to break out of, or else she would lose her identity and self-respect. Through this, Atwood depicts how women are always treated as object for someone's pleasure. Earlier, women were not provided equal job opportunities when compared to men. They had a limited scope for working. They had to work under or below men. This represents suppression. There were differences in their wage rate too. Women were discriminated against in the work environment. Regardless of their capabilities to work, their knowledge and willingness to flourish, they were never encouraged. Stepping up was next to impossible. Women were subject to various rules also. The very first problem that Marian has to face was at her workplace. The company has 3-tier system. She couldn't work at the upper floor as only men works there. Neither she could work at the lower floor as only wives and old ladies works there. She finds herself trapped at the middle point of the office structure. I couldn't become one of the men upstairs. I couldn't become a machine person or one of the questionnaire making ladies, as that would be a step down. I might conceivably turn into Mrs. Bogue or her assistant, but as far as I could see that, it would take a long time and I wasn't sure I would like it anyway. These lines are from chapter 2. At first, pregnancy is exhibited as an act of disloyalty to the company because earlier there were no rights for working women. The woman had to quit her job if she gets pregnant. Mrs. Bogue frowns slightly. She regards pregnancy as an act of disloyalty to the company. Secondly, pregnancy is exhibited as a source of satisfying one's deepest femininity. According to Ainsley, every woman should have at least one baby. Lines from chapter 5. Though Ainsley is against marriage, she does not deny motherhood. To fulfill her dream, she somehow manages to seduce Len and gets pregnant. But soon she realized that it would be difficult for her to bring up her child alone in the patriarchal society. She changes her mind, and to provide her child a father, she gets married. Accordingly, Marian has to agree with Ainsley that power of women declines as the number of children grows. Lines from chapter 5. Marriage is considered as a big concern. Every woman is expected to get married in a certain age and have babies. Married life is considered as an ideal life for a woman. Unmarried woman is not supposed to have a baby else. The baby is considered as an illegitimate child, as Ainsley is against marriage and decides to have a baby. Marian hopes this is just a whim she could get over. Chapter 5. I have never been silly about marriage the way Ainsley is. She is against it on principle, and life isn't by principles but by adjustments. Chapter 11. While conducting market research survey, Marian meets a man for taking his interview. She is enraged by his comment, "You ought to be at home with some big strong man to take care of you." Chapter 6. The company where Marian works at expects their women staff to wear high heels. Moreover, at the time of Peter and Marian's marriage, Peter asks Marian to dress differently than the usual and suggests her to do something with her hair so that she looks beautiful. Despite of being uncomfortable with bringing a change in her personality, she dresses herself in a red gown and puts on makeup for the party just for Peter's interest. This showed Marian's suppression on her feelings and desires. She tries to adjust herself in the role of an ideal woman. In this episode, female space is not a place for women to accomplish their own desire, but a space created for women to fulfill the desires of men. So, finally, we find that Margaret Atwood focuses in her works about the sufferings and the quest for identity of her women protagonists, who are generally the victims in a patriarchal society. Women being bound by the well-defined role which the society has imposed on them. They are subjected to many kinds of mental agony and emotional trauma, which they encounter in many circumstances during their journey of life. In this particular novel, Atwood makes clear the widely held but false ideas about the defined role of women. Women are expected to be always flexible in their life, whether it is in their professional field or private life. They are expected to accept the identity that is enforced on them by male dominance. The struggles and turmoil the female protagonists have to wade through in a patriarchal society is very authentically portrayed in Atwood's novel. The deep hidden fear in her woman character conceals their potential and capabilities. So, with the conclusion, finally we can say that her main focus is on the issue of gender discrimination in a male-dominated society. When her characters overcome the fear and swim against the opposing currents in various testing circumstances, they emerge as outstanding, strong women. Thank you. We'll continue in the next part.